recently, Fujifilm sent me their X-T5, and this is now the second time that I've actually had it in hand. This is the first time, though, that I'm making a video about it, because my first time having it, I didn't feel comfortable with reviewing it and giving any kind of opinion on it because I felt like I did not have it long enough and I did not put it through enough of a, actual testing environment that is a real world environment to give you a fair opinion on it. I want you guys to understand that I can always skew results on any camera based off of just my own personal bias if I'm able to control every element that the camera's in. When you use it in a real world working environment though, like I was able to by taking it to some Austin FC games and doing a whole event with this camera, when you put it through those paces, it's hard to fake what the results are because honestly, it's your ass on the line. And so now that I've had some time with the X-T5 to do exactly what I want to do with it, which is put my ass on the line and put it through a stringent test of how can it handle 3 days of a conference and a professional, not only a professional sports match, but also some marketing and some content shooting and things like that. I feel pretty comfortable in saying that the X-T5 is not only a camera that is great for stills photography, great for videographers, anything like that. The X-T5 is just a camera for the creative who wants to be able to do everything and everything really well. So immediately off the bat, let me tell you that this camera is a major go. Shout out to my mentor, Flossie Carter. And the reason being is because it just does everything. And it does everything really, really well. All the specs and all the things that people have been clamoring for over the last few years, the Fujifilm X-T5 has about 95% of them. The only things that I could think of are the fact that it doesn't have a CF Express Type B card, which unless you're like me and picked an XH2 or an XH2S because you need that because you need a faster read-write speed, I need it for sports, nothing else. Or you need the 8K instead of the 6K that it shoots. Again, CF Express B card will give you that on the XH2 or the XH2S. Or you're someone who needs a battery grip, which it doesn't come with it, but honestly, with these new Fujifilm batteries, I don't really see a need for it. This camera's great. It has everything that you think you would need. 422 internal. It also exports the 422. You have 6K, you've got your 4K, you've got your 120 frames per second, your 60 frames per second, your 30p, your 24p. I can't see why this would not be a camera on the forefront of everyone's mind unless you're someone who's afraid of APS-C cameras. But when it comes to being afraid of APS-C cameras, let me just say that if you're still scared of that, if you're still someone who's wary of those cameras, just be aware of this. You're going off opinions based from 20 years ago. I mean, literally 20 years ago, APS-C cameras were completely inferior, but that was by design by companies like Canon and Nikon and et cetera, et cetera. But then you have companies like Fujifilm and Pentax who give their all into these systems, but everyone wants to brush over and ignore that. Totally fine. Market share, marketing, that's always going to play a part. But these Fujifilm cameras that they've been releasing with these 40 megapixel sensors, backside illuminated sensors, the ability to have this upgraded autofocus, digital zoom internal, then you've also got your 422 internal, you've got your 15 frame per second mechanical shutter, which is amazing. Trust me, especially someone coming from DSLR for sports, I truly do enjoy that because it does shoot 15 frames per second. It has a fantastically deep buffer. There's just so many things in these new cameras and specifically in the X-T5 that as an A cam, as a B cam, as a fun cam, as a hobby cam, as a landscape cam, as a sports cam, as a video cam, all of these things it can be, and that's because this thing excels at everything that you want it to do. So what makes this camera stand out from the X-T4 and why would you upgrade? Me personally, I never had a good experience with the X-T4. It's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to upgrade from it to the XH2 or an XH2S or to an X-T5 is because I just didn't feel like that camera delivered. Fujifilm promised a lot of things like a big buffer, fast continuous shooting, it not overheating, all these different things, and I felt like it didn't deliver. The autofocus was never a large jump from the X-T3, which I felt like, why would I buy that if it's not better than the X-T3? The IBIS wasn't a huge jump in performance for me from the XH1, so in my mind, I also thought, why not save money, get an XH1? Whenever it comes to the sensor, it's the exact same one as the X Pro 3, the XE4. And whenever it comes to the processor, it's the exact same one in the X Pro 3. And whenever comparing them, I just felt like the X Pro 3 fit better in my life, and it actually delivered on the high frame frame rate burst mode in photo that it said it delivered, and I could never get that to work in the X-T4. Honestly, to me, the X-T4 is probably one of the biggest duds that Fujifilm's ever released, even though people loved it, and I feel like they loved it first and foremost for the flippy screen. But the X-T5 has come along, and I'm telling you, it has done wonders. The IBIS is amazing, and I feel like made a huge jump, whether it's using native Fujifilm glass, whether it has OIS or not. Majority of the time I use glass that didn't have optical image stabilization, or using third-party lenses like the TT Artisan's 27mm f2.8, which, mind you, I recorded a lot of footage on this thing, and the autofocus algorithm was able to take a lens that so many people said did horribly, and honestly, on the XE3 when I had it on that, didn't perform as well as I wanted to, and made this lens perform like it was native. That is a huge deal, a huge deal, and it's a big up to Fujifilm because on all the cameras that are going to be coming forward with their new processors, you are going to be promised with very damn good autofocus and eye recognition. The video features are almost identical to the X-H2 besides a few things like 8K and how slow of a frame rate it can actually record in, but for me that doesn't really matter too much because what I really care about is the video that is coming out of it. How editable is the footage in F-Log and F-Log2? How does the footage look coming straight out of camera? How easy is it to use? How is the overheating? How is the EVF? How is the LCD? And all of these things were great. They were above, average, honestly, and even more than that. The autofocus is what really surprised me. I kind of thought that Fujifilm would maybe brick for some reason the autofocus because I'm kind of used to that with every camera manufacturer besides Fujifilm. A lot of these camera manufacturers will do things like just make little tweaks when it comes to algorithm and say, well, the processor can't handle it. The processor can't take it, but they didn't do that. Everything you're getting in the X-H2, which is beyond fantastic, you're getting in the X-T5. Fujifilm cameras are getting so much better in the video department. It's ridiculous. The colors, the life, what is being breathed out of these cameras is, it just gets better. I love the colors out of Fujifilm cameras for video. I've never been someone that really cared too much about the aesthetic for stills because I edit them in post, but the ability to push and pull and to be able to add my own flair to a lot of the videos that I'm creating with these Fujifilm colors, it's just to live for. The photo side is fantastic. The jump from 26 megapixels to 40 megapixels isn't that huge of a deal, and I think that was over embellished. And so I'm not really gonna highlight that too much because I've already made videos about, does it really make a huge difference? The camera is fast. The autofocus is fast. The autofocus is sticky. The depth that you're getting with these new lenses that resolve the 40 megapixel is amazing. One of my favorite things about the X-T5, the X-H2, and any of these 40 megapixels going forward is the fact that it has digital zoom built in. So this is for both photo and for still. For photo, I was able to use this for whenever I was shooting JPEG for Austin FC images to be able to send those out because I was on assignment. I'm able to have a 1.4 time crop and a 2 time crop, which takes me to about 30 and I believe 21 megapixels or 18 megapixels respectively, which is perfect. It's actually really good. Those are good sizes to where I'm not filling up my buffer with these giant 40 megapixel JPEGs and RAWs every single time I take a photo. But what's great is it gives me extra extension and reach that I would usually have to get a 1.4 time teleconverter or a 2 time teleconverter to be able to handle. The autofocus is still the same in these modes. I'm not losing any light like I would with a teleconverter, and I'm getting extra reach. And because I have these amazing film simulations specifically, I'm able to take the same image that I would usually take and adjust and edit in RAW to be able to push out, and I'm able to have that immediately, maybe do an adjustment here, maybe boost the shadow here, maybe boost the contrast here, and able to send those out quicker. The autofocus still works the same. I'm not losing anything as far as autofocus because I'm losing light, especially during these nighttime games. It's actually a blessing. Even more than that, I love the fact that on video, this is also available. So even at 6K, you're able to do up to, I believe, a 2 times zoom with these cameras and still be able to stay in 4K footage if you're shooting on 4K high quality. Why is this a big deal that they oversample the 6K? Because of things like this. This 16 millimeter that I bought, the 16 millimeter f2.8, is a fantastic lens. It's one that I've always liked, and honestly, I have fallen in love with this even more, not because it renders a certain way, not because it's super sharp, not because of all these other things, oh, it's weatherproof, but because this 16 millimeter lens, now for me, this turns into an actual zoom lens for me, which turns into about a 16 to a 33, which of course gives me a 24 to 50 focal length range. That is amazing. That is fantastic. Now, it still has the same qualities of a 16mm camera, meaning characteristics, because it is 16mm. But the fact is, I have the reach. I no longer have to go and swap lenses. I no longer have to invest in these big, heavier zoom lenses or zoom lenses that I don't want, because honestly, I've already got redundancy. It's not all sunshine with the X-T5. Honestly, the Fujifilm Photos app is still one of the worst apps ever. I mean, their camera app is horrible, horrendous. The X-T5, none of this stuff. They give you updates to say it betters the connection, and it doesn't. It's one of the worst apps ever. Fujifilm, either do away with it or redo it. But honestly, at this point, no one is happy with it. Let's just get that out of the way. But yeah, this camera, honestly, from everything that I did, I recorded videos, I took stills, I was having to do fast-paced stuff. I was doing off-camera flash, on-camera flash. I did studio shooting for marketing. There was a lot of stuff that I did. And of course, this camera handles it in every situation. I thought Fujifilm would brick it. I just thought Fujifilm would really pull things back, whether it didn't have F-Log 2, whether it did. I mean, there's just so many things that I thought they could get away with not putting into the X-T5, that when these features were in there, the performance was there. And of course, I had the XH2, which I'm recording on right now, and I'm juxtaposing them. They're identical in usage, and I absolutely love that. Take into account that it is cheaper than the XH2S and the XH2. I see this as a major, major go, because save some coin, especially on open boxed and used from your local camera store, and have the exact same performance. That's a beautiful thing. That's a fantastic thing. And it's exactly what I look for every single time that I recommend or that I discuss cameras on this channel. Street photographers, event photographers, wedding photographers, sports photographers, people on their feet taking photos all day. Let me talk to you for a second. Are you tired of your feet hurting? Are you tired of feeling like, man, I have to do something and I need to take a seat because my dogs are barking? I was as well. Listen, a lot of times it doesn't have to do with our posture. It doesn't necessarily have to do with our weight. And even more, it doesn't have to do with previous injuries or anything that is bad in our body anatomically. It has to do with what's on your feet. There's a huge fad going on right now of not only photographers wanting to dress to the nine, looking good with boots and everything, like they're gonna be hitting a photo op while they're doing a street walk, which is really weird, but also this fad of buying shoes with these large foam soles. Those huge foam running shoes that are in vogue right now, not good for your feet. What happens to foam is you compress it with weight over time, repeatedly, day after day after day. Well, the foam compresses, gets harder, and basically makes a brick, putting pressure against your foot, shaping to your foot, not allowing your foot to conform in the sole anymore. But luckily, there's a sneaker that actually brings up a solution, and that is Karhu sneakers with their amazing fulcrum technology. The amazing thing about Karhu and its fulcrum technology is it was made specifically for people not only who were gonna be on their feet, but had to perform on their feet day after day. You see, what this technology does is it's able to propel you forward with a little piece inserted into the sole that does not lose its shape, but actually is built there to absorb every little bit of shock that comes on from every step, whether it's running or walking for long periods of time. These look beat up. These are dirty. And why? Because I wear these almost every single day. Again, I'm telling you about a product that I'm not sponsored by. I don't have a promo code for it, and I'm not getting any money off this. They're just a damn good shoe. So if you're interested in taking care of yourself and eliminating that foot fatigue, and instead of spending $200-300 on a pair of Jordans or a pair of boots, spend $200-300 on investing in your well-being, you can find these at karhu.com or at your local Fleet Feet. If they don't have them, all you gotta do is ask for them. All in all, the X-T5 is just a great camera. You guys know the specs. They're easy to look at. I don't wanna relay them because in the real world, specs don't matter. Honestly, what does it matter if a camera can shoot 30 to 50 frames per second at 50 megapixels if you just really need it to record good video or take really good still photos? What does it matter if a camera can shoot 60 megapixel photos if it's really bad in the autofocus department or the colors that come out of it are absolutely trash and the dynamic range is horrible and you can't recover badly lit mistake situations? It doesn't. And that's the thing is, in the real world, when using these things for work, I'm able to see if a camera gives me problems, period. And I'm not babying and being light on any of the gear that I use. I want to push it to its limits because the further you can push your camera gear to the edge without it breaking down, it means the further you can go in your creativity, the further you can go when it comes to putting out great material, and the further you can, push your business, even if it's someone who's a hobbyist. Having a camera that you know that no matter what you ask it, it's gonna be able to perform is amazing. And I think that's what the X-T5 does. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. I hope you guys are also enjoying the X-T5 and enjoying the many things that Fujifilm has coming out. I'm really excited. I really hope this pushes Nikon to do some things, man, because I really want to see them step up their game. With all that being said, like I said, take it light, man, but take it and have a good one.